Hello everyone, hope you are doing good. So today we'll be continuing the session which we have ended yesterday. So we saw in the previous video, right, how we can write the queries in the GraphQL and automate it. So in this session or in this particular video, we will be seeing how we can use the variables in a GraphQL query and how to automate those. So as you can see here, we have something ID as one. So every time you should not be hard coding this ID, right? So you need to externalize this with some object or maybe like from an Excel sheet or anywhere, right? So what is the strategy behind this? How will you do that, right? So for this, you need to design the query in such a way. So I have already created the query. So I will use the one which we were using yesterday. Okay, so let's see this one, right? So now you can see what this query is doing. This query is like a get launch details, and which is accepting an ID, which is the scalar type is as ID, which is mandatory. And this is like the query. To use a variable, what you need to do, you just need to enter the ID, which is nothing but your, as soon as you will see, right, one thing, the smart suggestion will come into picture itself. If I say ID, it will show the ID. So let's say I need to provide as ID 2. Okay, and let's see how it will go at position 0. What happened here? Yeah, I have to use double quote instead of the single quote. Yeah, you can see, right, the data you are getting it here. Now if I change to ID as 6 or 7, right, so let's see how it will come. So in this case you can see, right, we have externalized the ID. So it will be very useful when you are sending a particular request to with a query, right? So you can externalize the data. As of now, you can see I'm just passing as a JSON object, but it's a possibility, right? You can pass, get this in like a JSON format, or if you want to drive it from some other external sheet or somewhere, you can easily do it. But the idea is how we can make use of the variables in the while writing the GraphQL request and while sending a request to a server, right? So let's switch back to the Visual Studio Code and see everything into action. So previously we have created this main.js. So let's try to create another file and say variable spec.js. So I will be just making some code from the previous file what we have written to the spec file. Now what we need to do, so let's copy the query that we have written. So let's copy this one and paste inside it. Now you can see this is like a GraphQL query format, and if you want to see, right, how I have written this, so anyhow you can always take the help of the documentation from the GraphQL request. So means I have attached, I have added this particular URL as a part of my previous video, so you can just check out in that, or you can just search as a GraphQL request in your web browser and you will get this particular npm package. So you can just come to, at this point you can see, right, yeah, this one. So you can see the query get movie, which is accepting a title as a string scalar type for us, and we are defining the movie title, which is like a string format. And now for defining the variables, what you need to do, just say const variables equal to something like, what I need to provide, I need to provide an ID here, right? Say ID and say ID2. Okay, so as of now I'm just saying one parameter. What if in case I have another parameter, it can take multiple parameter also, right? As you can see the launch, so the launch can accept the details as well. So if I just click on detail, if I just say details something like this, it can take the details as well. So it depends upon your requirement, what particular variable you need to pass as a part of your query. But what I'm trying to suggest, it can accept anything. It can accept an array type object, something like this, and you can define the data. So it's totally up to you how your schema is designed for your query. Accordingly, you need to pass the variable, right? So as of now, you can say as of now, the launch is accepting only the ID for us. So that's the reason we are just passing the ID. If it is accepting something else, say name as well, so I can just pass the name as well like this. Now, after doing this, what we need to do, we have to pass these variables as a part of your query request after, sorry, as a part of your request after the query, right? And I think we are good to go. Let's check it. Let me beautify the code. Yeah, let's run the code. See, node, source, test, variable spec.js. You can see here, right? The data is printed here. So there is no error. That's the reason you are just getting this this part. Sorry, yeah, there is no error. If there is some error, right, this error object will get printed here as well. So you can see I'm just saying console.error if there is error. So something like that. Suppose if I say name. So let's check with this what is happening. Right, you can see it will just print an error for you. It will tell you why it is happening. So it is saying unknown argument name on the field type launch. So it means this query does not accept any parameter of type name. So it only accepts of type ID. Right. So in this way, right, you can just automate any query. So let me do it for another query. So let's rename this to launch query. Now let's try to get the another query, and okay, let's get this one. So in this case, what you will see, right, in this case it is taking a limit as a variable which is of scalar type as int. So we'll be only passing the int value to limit. So if I say limit and say 3, just give me the 3 records. Okay, so it will just show you the 3 records now. You can see, right? So the first record, this is like an array, missions array, and it will show you the 3 record, the first entry, the second entry, and the second entry and the third entry. So you can just give like the way you want it, right? Say suppose you want the top 8 entry, right? So that's the one of the beautiful thing about the GraphQL, right? Whatever the data is required, just you can write the query for it and get it. What's the like in the case of the REST API, this is not possible, right? So if you want to get, means yeah, there is certain endpoints which can return you the data depending upon what you can say the path variable or like a query parameter or something like any other parameter, right? So yeah, there is a way we can filter out the data as well, but you can see how convenient it is, like only with a single endpoint we are able to get the data from the server side. So let's try to use this particular query and say const missions query equal to, so let me copy this query and just paste it here, GraphQL followed by the string template sign, and let's rename this to const. Let me just comment it out. Okay, let's do one thing. Let's rename this variable. So I would say this is like launch variables. Okay, now let's say const mission variable, mission variables. So what it is accepting? It is accepting a limit of integer type, right? So let's say limit, let's test for 3. I want as a mission variable. The query is the mission query. Let's execute. Right? You can see the data on the console, right? So yeah, you can see, right, how it is easy to automate a query with using GraphQL request, right? So in this particular video, what we have seen, how we can write a query using like variables, and how to automate that query using GraphQL request. So what I will be doing, I will be just uploading this particular project in my GitHub repo. So I will just attach the link to the video description. You can check out the code from there. So once again, thank you guys. If you like my content, please like and subscribe to my channel. Thank you.